Nick is at Halas Hall. Nick is look. Are these new glasses? What's happening here?
Our new glasses. I literally just got these on Friday. So, when you're up all night driving back from Green Bay, you need to rest the eyes and put on the glasses every once in a while.
Do you even wear contacts, or is this just a fashion statement?
Oh.
No, I wear contacts.
Okay,
I'm
just
blind.
checking.
I'm blind.
Okay.
You're a man of fashion. I had to know.
Well, yeah. We didn't know Nick could look any more handsome, and then here he is on Black Monday, wearing white and just chilling. Most important question I have for you, Nick, are you aware that in the last 10 games of this season, Adam Hogue went 9-1 with his Bears predictions?
I am not. That's really impressive. Wow.
We don't have to talk about how he started 2-5.
It was a miracle that he was able to tie me, but it's the way it is. I'm just sitting here at the top, and sometimes I'm joined by someone, and sometimes I'm not, so welcome. Congratulations.
Congrats, you guys.
I'll go in first question. Nick, what was the most interesting moment that you had listening to anybody talk today? You were like, wow, I didn't expect that.
That's a good question, Mark. I'm going to say the most interesting thing is hearing from every single person that I heard from today spoke about, in some aspect, the brotherhood or the family atmosphere that is in this locker room. It didn't matter who you were talking to. Montez Sweat brought that up. DJ Moore described that when he was talking about Darnell Mooney and what he's meant to him. Jack Sanborn said that every single one of these guys in this locker room, he's just been really appreciative to have, this group of core people in there. It didn't matter who, again, you were talking to. They really spoke about, this brotherhood element, and Mercedes Lewis included. And, he's been quite a few locker rooms, going to be turning 40 on May 19th. But this locker room is connected, and it through the difficulties of the beginning of the season, I think that made that connection overall stronger for a lot of these guys. So when you bring up a guy like Justin Fields, who is very well respected, loved by all of his teammates, that's something that I think Ryan Poles needs to consider as he's kind of weighing the options of what's going further. But to really answer your question, Mark, I think it's just every single player we spoke to had something to say about just the chemistry, the locker room atmosphere that really does exist here.
Sometimes I like to ask you, because I always felt it when I was in that locker room on a day-to-day basis, just what the vibe feels like. So I'm trying to listen to all the stuff you sent in to us earlier pre-show, and that just did not sound like a locker room that just lost to the Packers.
100%. I was saying the same thing. It sounded like the happiest. There's so much chatter.
I mean, I've been through. I've seen it all. I'm the Monday after the season, from all the players crying because Lovie Smith just got fired, to days seemingly like today where everybody seems pretty cool about everything that happened. Was the locker room busy today? Because that's another thing. I've seen locker room cleanout day
nobody's
where
there.
Nobody's there.
No.
Were guys available? Were they happy? It seemed pretty jovial just from what you sent in.
Yeah, and I'll say here's a perfect example of how, I guess, upbeat the locker room was. Montez Sweat had a cart to put all of his belongings on there. And Khalid Kareem, a guy that we really don't even hear about, got on top of the cart, and Montez Sweat was pushing him throughout the locker room, going pretty fast. Like, if you got in the way of that, that would not have been, fun to be a part of. But just kind of going around joyfully and just kind of having fun with a guy that really, hasn't done much this season. So I really do think that, it's still an upbeat locker room. Obviously, they would have liked to play better against the Packers in Week 18 at Lambeau Field, but it did feel like it was upbeat, and they're looking forward to what is to come in 2024.
Would anybody?
Can I get a little meatball-y for a second?
Yeah,
Am I allowed to do that?
I think I was about to do it too.
I don't like it.
Yeah, I was about to say, does
You
anybody?
won 7 games. You just got smoked by your rival. I
Right.
don't like it.
Like, there's a little bit too celebratory. 7-10, you beat one good team all year. Like,
which goes back to something I'd like to talk about a lot, and that's just we gotta lower or higher the expectations here in this town.
Raise the standard.
And I hope that's the kind of stuff that behind those closed doors, with Kevin Warren in the room, that there's more of that. Honestly, I don't want to make too big of a deal of that. It's probably not a huge deal. It's a little concerning to me, if I'm being honest. That jovial after that kind of loss after you only won 7 games. I don't like that.
I was having the same
Yeah,
thought.
and guys, real quickly too, like DJ Moore was asked about, how this feels locker room clean out after that loss, and he said obviously the team got 7 wins, but why not go for 10 plus next year and finish out some of those games and be a better team? And I think, this team lives in like the what ifs, the coulds. You could have beat Denver. What if we finished the first game against Detroit? What if you play better in the first matchup against Minnesota? And yes, they have these high expectations, but you just got to show it before you can. If you're not showing, you're just talking about it. And I get it. Like this team, I think they did some good things down the road in terms of actually building up some wins here, but we saw last night how far this team really is from competing against the Packers. And this is a Packers team that had its struggles throughout the course of the season. But in the 2 matchups they played in 2023, it wasn't close either way. Even though yesterday's was just a 1-score game, it did not feel like that. So it is an interesting approach to how they're kind of, taking today. But, yeah, I would say, again, it goes credit to the chemistry that is in the locker room. A lot of those guys feel like they're not just teammates, they are, family. And Montez Sweat said, like, he wished he had more time with the guys that are in here because he knows change is going to happen. And he said he wishes that, he just had more time to spend with some of his teammates.
That's kind of where I take it with some of the players. Like, I almost feel like they're trying to keep a positive attitude because they don't want change. They like where they're going, even though they've fallen short of their goals. The one tone that I think has been a little different for some of the players last night and today with some of your reporting is it doesn't feel like they're as hard-lined for Luke Getsy. I think there's some people that like him in that locker room and others that have been a little more vocal, last night standing out and saying things that they didn't agree with the game plan. Are you getting that vibe from the locker room?
Well, we put out the video of DJ Moore and just kind of the reaction he had when, he was talking about his exit interview. And he said, when it comes out, whatever happens, happens. And maybe it's what I said, they'll take that into account. But, it was interesting to hear him talk about that. What did DJ Moore tell Matt Eberflus and Ryan Poles? We won't know until maybe something comes out as he pointed to. And he kind of has the facial expression with it. But I think Luke Getsy is respected. The players do like him. When you talk to Marcedes Lewis, he talked about like how Luke Getsy is good at adapting, and when Marcedes Lewis's reps started going up throughout the season, that kind of meant that the Bears are playing the brand of football that they wanted to play: run the rock, play action, mirror things together, and that's because Getsy understands him as a player. So it's interesting how I think you do hear a little bit of both sides when it comes to Getsy, but he is the most, I think, most polarizing figure on this Bears team right now. Obviously, Fields is there as well, but he has all the support from the locker room. Getsy, I feel like there are bits and pieces that kind of leak out a little bit, especially as the season's come to a close.
So it's a good way of putting it that it leaks out a little bit. Like it leaked a little bit from DJ, but then he tried to leak it back the other way, was saying that, they were struggling last night or yesterday with Green Bay and the offensive line situation, guys not being healthy, and that led to the offense not being able to be as productive as they wanted. Did you see anybody in there, Nick, that didn't look like they were having the time of their life packing up?
So Darnell Mooney was briefly, he didn't speak to reporters. He actually said that he was still going through the concussion protocol and that, if we were still in the locker room, after he got back, he would talk, but he didn't. But he kind of just seemed like he was in a rush, kind of getting some things into his box, going to, behind maybe to get the concussion protocol situation going. Then we never saw him again, and that's unfortunate because that could have been the last time Darnell Mooney was here in Halas Hall. But yeah, Mark, I mean, I wouldn't say that. Yeah. I wouldn't say that nobody wasn't having the time of their life here. I mean, they were kind of, they had their boxes, put all their cleats, their belongings in there. Guys kind of linger a little bit. Some head out, but yeah, like I said, I mean, the locker room cleanout day after losing to your bitter rival up north, it seemed pretty okay in Halas Hall.
It just makes a lot of sense with Darnell. It's got to be a hard day for him. Been here, didn't have a good year, didn't end the way he wanted it to. Probably feels like he's not going to be back. These guys are his close friends. Yeah. All of it.
Nick, I don't know what time your exit interview with Flus and Poles is scheduled today, where you fit in on the order, but what would you tell them? What's your advice to them if they asked it?
Well, I mean, that's a good question, Adam. I think they just need to look at this, what they're trying to build here, and see, and ask them. I would just ask them, like, what do you think is truly right for this team moving forward? And that's going to be the big question that Poles needs to answer, because is it going to be Eberflus and bringing him back, or do you just want to have a fresh start at things? So it's a tough question, but one that ultimately they're going to have to think about. And maybe we'll have some more clarity on some of those pieces to the overarching puzzle here in later days. But I think for Poles, I just want to see what he truly thinks is best to put this organization finally in a window to actually compete. Look, they still can't beat the Green Bay Packers. Yes, you've won a couple games against the NFC North, but there's still a gap there. And they just need to figure out what's the best way to approach that finally. Also, I'm curious, what are our nicknames? I know Matt Eberflus has nicknames for all the players. What are the nicknames for some of the reporters? That kind of piqued my interest when you guys were at Halas Hall that one day.
Yeah, I don't know. And it's been bothering me for 2 weeks. I haven't slept. I'm like Braggs before the Panthers-Jaguars game. I haven't slept in a week.
Nick, can you do me a favor and find Kevin Warren and ask if he likes Jim Harbaugh, like if they get along? Everybody's been waiting for this answer. I'm just trying to find that out.
Hit the like button if you have appreciated Nick's coverage all season long. Give it up for our guy, Nicholas Moreano. He's been grinding it out there. Look at him.
Nick.
Backwards hat, no hat, different glasses, always the smile on his face, giving us the information. Like button for Nick, damn it.
Stunningly beautiful.
Best looking man in media, and there's no doubt.
His week 19 is not over yet. It's going to be a press conference at some point. Mm-hmm. Could be more news along the way. Nick, good hustle getting back from Green Bay, especially if you drove it last night. That's one of the worst drives in the world. You do not see if you drove it last night, you probably went 20 miles without seeing a car at some point. Yeah. And maybe saw 5 deer. The deer to car ratio gets very scary when you're driving home from Green Bay that late.
Yeah, I no, that's exactly what it was. There was a car that was like creepily following, and there's only it's me and this other car. I'm like, I already don't like this. Let's get out of here, distance myself from whoever you are. And then on my way home in Arlington Heights, there were some foxes that were just kind of crossing the road. I'm like, I didn't see as much deer, but I'm like, oh, there's a little fox at 1 a.m. But yeah, it's an interesting drive, and I just didn't want to be in Green Bay any longer than I was, so got out of there. And guys, the cheese curds. The cheese curds were bad in the press box for me.
They were bad?
That's how I knew it was – yeah, that's how I knew it wasn't going to be the Bears day. I'm like, what the hell? The cheese curds?
What, they weren't gooey?
Yeah. No, not the ones I got. Those things felt like they had been out there for a little bit. I'm like, all right.
Dude, Lambeau's slipping.
Slippery field.
The field wasn't bad.
You're on
the cheese
same page.
curds are
They did this on purpose. I'm telling you.
They're losing.
They're bad
Lambeau.
people up there.
I would be worried if I was a
anyone
Packer
from
fan.
Wisconsin is a bad person.
My wife's from Wisconsin. Nick, good job. We'll talk to you. I have a feeling, I don't know, 3 hours from now. It'll be. Go get some sleep, though. Rest up. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, you guys.
We all silly like the mayor.